foundation for this vision is a type of district heating called an ambient temperature loop. This consists of a series of pipes in the ground that deliver a working fluid, typically between 0 and 20 Celsius, to every property, domestic and commercial. Connected to this network are heat pumps that upgrade the temperature you need for heating purposes and hot water, and downgrade it, chill it, for air conditioning and cooling purposes. All of the waste heat produced by cooling goes back into the ambient temperature loop, and all of the cold that's produced as a byproduct of heating for homes and hot water also goes into the loop. That allows you to recycle the energy rather than waste it out to atmosphere. The efficiencies of both systems, both heating and cooling, are improved, and you can also store energy in this loop between heating and cooling applications. In theory, the ambient temperature loop could provide all of the heating and all of the cooling demands. But that's only true if the heating and the cooling demands are balanced to each other. Often they're not in the real world, and particularly cooling is required a lot more in the summer and heating is required a lot more in the winter. So to balance these two effects and spread out the seasonality, we use something called a shared ground loop array, which is a series of boreholes buried into the ground, anything from 100 to 250 meters deep, that recharge either heat or cold into that ambient network loop and keep it at that nice stable midpoint of temperature that you can then extract heating and cooling from. Other ways to recharge heat or cold into this ambient temperature loop are aquifers, that's water stored underneath the ground, surface water like the sea, lakes or rivers, mine water, or waste heat such as cooling the underground stations or data centres. The heat pumps are powered by electricity, and this will undoubtedly mean more investment in low carbon electricity generation for our grid, things like PV and wind in particular, but potentially also nuclear, tidal and hydropower. These electricity power sources are more intermittent, and our heat pump controls will be smart enough to account for this, turning heat pumps up when electricity is plentiful and moving it to times when the grid can most accommodate it. We'll also combine with local storage, so storing heat in properties, ready to provide heating and hot water when required, but generating and recharging that heat when electricity is most plentiful, when the grid can most support it. We see integrating these controls with a similar control mechanism for electric vehicles, so vehicles are charging at the same time as the grid can accommodate it best, and all of these systems are working in synchrony with each other. To help with this, we see grid-connected batteries, probably large centralised batteries, helping to stabilise the grid and to smooth out the intermittent nature of the generation and the demand. We also see a role for hydrogen. One of the ways you could do it with an ambient temperature loop is you could connect a hydrogen-powered fuel cell. So when the local grid comes under strain, the fuel cell fires up, delivers electricity into the grid. It also, the waste heat that comes out of the fuel cell is delivered into the ambient temperature loop, which improves the efficiency of the heat pumps, reduces the electrical demand at the same time as the fuel cells are inputting electricity into the grid.